Oh, good morning. Today is Tuesday. Normally I record on Monday, but yesterday Rusty was home and we butchered 20 chickens and we collapsed and just slept most of yesterday. It was a lot of work. We're getting old and we feel it. Oh, yeah. Just the two of us. We had raised I think I had 12. I have to count them now. 9, 10, 11, 12. So we had raised some roosters for meat, and then a neighbor had some roosters that they needed to get rid of. And so they asked if we could butcher them when we butchered ours. And so we did. And so with theirs and ours, we had 20 around about. And it took us about 4 or 5 hours on Sunday, and it was a lot of work. And we had all kinds of plans yesterday. I was going to do this and take care of a bunch of things, and we were just so wiped out. We just rested all day. Plus, it was 104 here yesterday. So, and we've got a really bad fire that's like 18 miles away. And so we're socked in with smoke, and everything smells like a campfire and inside the house and outside the house. And it was just too much. So we rested. And so I'm a day late in getting my Torah portions read, but yeah, it's good. So this week let me open this up here. It is Ki Tetze, and it is week 49. We're getting close. We only have a few more portions to go, and then we've got the feasts. Man, it is winding down. And boy, this is sure a time, and we've really been experiencing it. The month of Elul, the Hebrew month of Elul, we are really experiencing examination and repentance. So it's beautiful preparing our minds, hearts, bodies, and everything for the feasts coming up. So this week is Ki Tetze, and it is Deuteronomy. See here. Deuteronomy 21:10 through 25:19. And then the Haftarah is Isaiah 54:1 through 10. And the Brit Hadashah, the Gospels, is Matthew 24:29 through 42. And let's see here. I'll read a little bit out of here, but I found a different place. It's a little shorter. It won't take as long to get through. Because this commentary just has so much and it takes up so much of the time. So in last week's Parsha, Shoftim, Moses defined a system of justice for the Israelites and pointed to the coming Messiah, who would be the rightful king of Israel. In this week's portion, he returns to the temporal concern of the conquest of the Promised Land by providing a number of specific instructions regarding civil life in Israel. When you go out to war against your enemies, the Lord your God gives them into your hands, and you take them captive. Deuteronomy 21:10. 74 of the Torah's 63 commandments are given in this portion, Ki Tetze, covering a wide assortment of rules related to ethical warfare, family life, burial of the deceased, property laws, and humane treatment of animals, fair labor practices, and proper economic transactions. A general outline of the Parsha. Well, we're not going to go through that. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this will work. Share screen down here. And I want to share which one? None of these. Why is the one I want not coming up? Let me see real quick. I want to share this one. That's why I'm not on it. There we go. Hopefully this will work now. There it is. Okay. And there we go. All right. So the portion summary overview. The 49th reading of the Torah is called Ki Tetze, or something like that. Ow, my cat just bit me. Sorry. Stop. Which means when you go. It is named after the first words of Deuteronomy 21:10, which are when you go out into battle against your enemies. Deuteronomy is organized as an ancient Near East covenant treaty document. Previous chapters of Deuteronomy formed a preamble, a historical prologue, and general covenant stipulations. Chapter 12 begins a section of more specific stipulations, and this portion continues with a code of laws. The laws of the Torah are more than just legalese. They are covenant expectations that provide us with Yah's direction for living life. And this is exactly how I view what I read. It's beautiful. Moses emphasizes captive women must be treated with dignity. The rights of the firstborn should be upheld. A rebellious son is a grave concern. A hangman still bears the image of Yah and must be buried before sunset. Laws addressing personal property, kindness to animals, and safety measures. Regulations on marriage, divorce, and sexual morality, preserving family integrity. Moses outlines levirate marriage to ensure inheritance. Israel must remember Amalek's cruelty and fulfill Hashem's command to blot out the memory of Amalek. And Amalek, if we remember, was, let's see here, Amalek was the king that came and attacked when they first left Egypt and they were out in the desert. Amalek came from behind and attacked them from behind and attacked like the elderly and the slow and the people who are maybe kind of losing faith and like lagging behind. He attacked those people and did not show kindness at all to Israel through their travels. And so Amalek is, Yah gave them a command to blot them out of history. They don't just go. So we're going to start, let's see. I'll share that screen. That one here, there, share, yay. Okay. So marrying female captives. In Deuteronomy 10, or 21:10, when you go out to fight against your enemies, and Yah your Elohim shall give them into your hand, and you shall take them captive, you shall see among the captives a woman fair of form, and shall delight in her, and take her for your wife. Then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails, and shall put aside the mantle of her captivity, and she shall dwell in your house and mourn her father and her mother a month of days. And after that, you shall go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. And it shall be, if you are not pleased with her, then you shall let her go at her desire, but you do not sell her at all for silver. Do not treat her harshly, since you have humbled her. You have taken away her virginity. So some of the commentaries I've heard on this is that you shave her head and you kind of take away her outward beauty that maybe attracted the man to her in the first place. And, to see if this is really, because this is a lifelong decision, although he can divorce her and let her go. But the inheritance rights of the firstborn. When a man has two wives, one loved and the other unloved, and they have borne him children, both loved and unloved, the firstborn son is of her who is unloved. Then it shall be, on the day he makes his son to inherit his possessions, he is not allowed to treat the son of the beloved wife as a firstborn in the face of the son of the unloved, who is truly the firstborn. So we have examples like that with Leah and Rachel and their sons. So, but he is to acknowledge the son of his unloved wife as his firstborn by giving him a double portion and all that he has for he is the beginning of his strength. The right of the firstborn is his. And from what I understand, they give a double portion to the firstborn son because he actually is going to be caring for the family. So he's got to take care of his family, but he still has to take care of his mother and his siblings. And so he needs a double portion to be able to take care of everybody. This one's always gotten people crazy upset. When a man has a wayward and a rebellious son who is not listening to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and who, when they have disciplined him, he does not listen to them. So he's already been, they've already tried working with him. Then his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders of the city, to the gate of his city. And he shall say to the elders of the city, this son of ours is a wayward and rebellious, and he's not listening to our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. Okay, so a couple things this tells us here. He's an adult. He's not a child. He's an adult who's still living with them. He's gluttonous. He's a drunkard. He's affecting their way of life. And, because of his behavior. And then all the men of the city shall stone him to death with the stones. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst, and let all of Israel hear and fear. And through history, I don't know that this actually ever truly happened, because think about it. You've got a challenging son who is not living right, but you know that it's got to be a really extreme case for you to take him. Like, he's got to be a criminal who is like causing harm for you to take him to be put to death. I mean, a lot of parents just aren't going to go there, but a man hanged on a tree is cursed. When a man has committed a sin worthy of death, and he shall be put to death, and you shall hang him on a tree, like our Messiah, let his body not remain overnight on the tree, for you shall certainly bury him the same day. That's why they had to get Yeshua's body down off the tree and get him in and get him buried. Plus, we also had the Passover coming. For he who is hanged on a tree is accursed of Elohim, so that you do not defile the land which Yah your Elohim is giving you as an inheritance. 22. And when you see your brother's ox or his sheep straying away, and you shall not hide yourself from them, return them to your brother without fail. And if your brother is not near you, if you do not know him, then you shall bring it to your own house, and it shall be with you until your brother seeks it. Then you return it to him. And so you do with his donkey, and so you do with his garment, and you do with whatever your brother loses. What he has lost and you have found, you are not allowed to hide for yourself. So it's like, ooh, finders keepers, I get to keep this. No, it's like, okay, someone lost this. I need to take it, care for it until that person comes looking for it. And when you see your brother's donkey or his ox fall down on the way, you shall not hide yourself from them. Help him raise them up without fail. Be there, help. A woman does not wear that which pertains to a man, nor does a man put on a woman's garment. For whoever does this is an abomination to Yah, your Elohim. This one's tough because of what's going on in our world nowadays. And my granddaughter, who is trans, and she may hear this. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. We've had the conversation. She is female who has transitioned to male. And she did ask me once, Grandma, is there anywhere in there about trans? And I said, well, yeah, that does say that, a woman's not to wear a man's clothes and a man's not to wear a woman's clothes. My personal belief is we're not to pretend that we're something that we're not. And we are to be what Yah made us to be. And so her and I had this conversation, and, I pray for her and I love her, and she knows my stance, and we respect one another. She respects what I'm doing. I respect, she knows that I don't like what she's done, but she's a grown woman. She's 19. She did start this when she was a teenager, and I personal believes that it's an adult decision, not a child's decision, but she's not my child, she's my grandchild. And we've had the conversations, her and I, and we love one another and respect one another, and we love one another's beliefs and respect one another's beliefs. She's an adult woman. I love her as that. And I leave her, I leave her to Yah and pray. So If you are listening, Jazz, I love you. When you come upon a bird's nest along the way in any tree, sorry, now I'm getting, sorry. Okay. Sorry, got a little emotional there. Sorry. Okay. When you come upon a bird's nest along the way in any tree or on the ground with young ones or eggs, with the mother sitting on the youngs or on the eggs, do not take the mother with the young. Let the mother go without fail and take the young for yourself, that it might be well with you and that you shall prolong your days. You know, Torah is all about the preservation of life, but it's also reality. If you find a nest with eggs and a mother, don't take all of it so that you cut off that life. Let the mother live to have more eggs. And you can't really leave the eggs without the mother. So don't take the mother, because the eggs aren't going to hatch on their own. And the babies aren't going to take care of themselves. So, if you take anything, you can take some of the eggs and some of the babies, but leave the mother to be able to reproduce and continue on with her life. And there's a promise here, and that shall prolong your days, and it might be well with you and prolong your days. When you build a new house, and then you shall make a parapet for your roof. It's a guardrail. So if you build a house and you have and if you look at Middle East, if you look at ancient homes, they had flat roofs where they, did a lot of the stuff up on the roofs. But you have to create one of the laws is when you build a new house and you make a parapet on your roof, so that you do not bring blood guilt on your house when one falls from it. So you have to put up a guardrail for protection. Do not sow your vineyard with different kinds of seed, lest the yield of the seed which you have sown and the fruit of your vineyard be defiled. This is something we've really, this last year, I practiced it, and unfortunately my garden, but it's not because of this, it's because of my water and the heat and everything this year. But I was really convicted with this last year. And so I don't use hybrid seeds. I don't use mixed seeds. I use heirloom seeds. And so do not plow with an ox and a donkey together, more mixture. Do not put on a garment of different kinds, wool and linen together. And it used to be one of those things like, why we don't know why he told us not to do that. But we've learned now that wool has a frequency of like 5,000, and linen has a frequency of 5,000, which is really healthy for our bodies. But when you put them together, it zeroes it out to zero. And so that's a very unhealthy frequency for our bodies. So interesting fact with that. Make tassels on the four corners of your garments with which you cover yourself. Man, this is something. Tzitzit, fringes, tassels. I love I love them. And what it taught me is, when I was out and about, I used to be very critical and very demanding, and my family will all go, yep. And like when we would go to places out, restaurants and stores and stuff, I worked in service. And so there's certain standards that, when you work in customer service, you need to uphold. And unfortunately, I don't know that that exists a whole lot anymore these days. And so I would find myself, complaining, or, going up and making a complaint, or, being irritable with the people and just not being nice, and not really being a good witness at all for him. And wearing the tassels really taught me to walk with a completely different way, in that they were constant physical reminders of who I belonged to and how I needed to behave and how I needed to treat others. And it was really transformational and life-changing, because now I'm able to go out and pause and have compassion and not be so critical and angry and irritable and frustrated and pick up offenses. And, I'm able to just walk in peace and not. So love wearing the tassels. Laws concerning sexual immorality. When a man takes a wife, he shall go into her. Wait a minute. When a man takes a wife and shall go into her and shall hate her, and shall make abusive charges against her and bring an evil name on her and say, I took this woman when I came to her and did not find her a maiden, meaning she was not a virgin. And then the father and the mother of the young woman shall take and bring out the proof of the girl's maidenhood to the elders of the city, which still kind of blows my mind to, when there's a wedding and then I guess they consummate and there's proof on the sheets that's saved. Parents saved that it's like it was a proof that she was a virgin when she got married. I mean, it seems so ridiculous to us these days, but the life we have these days is crazy too. So they'll bring this proof out to the elders at the city gate. And I've been learning that the city gate is where our last portion, it's where the judges and the officials and the elders all, that it's kind of like the courthouse where they all, try and look at these matters. And the girl's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as wife, and he hates her. And he has made abusive charges against her, saying, I did not find your daughter a maiden. And yet these are the proofs of my daughter's maidenhood, and they shall spread the garment before the elders of the city. That just seems so weird. And the elders of the city shall take that man and punish him and fine him 100 pieces of silver and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought an evil name on the maiden of Israel, and she is to be his wife, and he is not allowed to put her away all of his days. That seems kind of scary because it seems like he might not treat her well after that, but he's had to pay restitution. So, but if the matter is true and the girl is found not a maiden, then they shall bring the girl out to the door of the father's house, and the men of the city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has done wickedness in Israel to whore in her father's house. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. You wonder, and I mean, and I know it seems so harsh, but in reality, if we actually abided by these laws, what kind of a world would we live in? It would be so different than what we live in today. When a man is found lying with a woman married to a husband, then both of them shall die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. Thus you shall purge the evil from Israel. When a girl who is a maiden is engaged to her husband and a man finds her in the city and lies with her, so this kind of talking about like rape, then you shall bring them both to the gate of the city and shall stone them. Or this may not be rape. This may be like, okay, so she's betrothed, she's engaged, but she ends up sleeping with someone else. They are both brought to the city gate, and then they're stoned to death with stones. And the girl, because she did not cry out in the city, and the man, because he had humbled his neighbor's wife. Thus you shall purge evil from your midst. So basically it's in the city, so there's people that could hear if he was raping her, then someone could come and rescue her. If she was silent, then more than likely she was a willing participant on the matter. But if a man finds a girl who's engaged in the field and the man takes hold of her and lies with her, then only the man who laid with her shall die. And that's, but you shall do no matter to the girl. The girl has no sin worthy of death, for the matter is like a man who rises against his neighbor and murders him, a being. For he has found her in the field, and she cried out, and in the engaged girl, wait a minute, I'm sorry. But you shall not do no matter. You shall do no matter to the girl. The girl has no sin worthy of death. For the matter is like a man who rises against his neighbor and murders him, a being. For he is found in the field. For he found her in the field, and she cried out, the engaged girl, but without anyone to save her. So it's out in the country, and maybe she screamed, and nobody came to rescue her. And so they are assuming that she was not a willing participant, but nobody came to rescue her. When a man finds a girl who is a maiden who is not engaged, and he seizes her and he lies with her, and they are found out, then the man who lie with her shall give the girl's father 50 pieces of silver, and she is to be his wife, because he has humbled her. He is not allowed to put her away all of his days. And a man who does not take his father's wife, and a man does not take his father's wife, nor uncover his father's skirt. Kind of like they say that this is what actually happened with Ham and Noah's wife. He uncovered his father's nakedness, although no one really knows, but what that truly means. Footnote, Hebrew. Is anything going to come up? No. Okay. He is wounded by the crushing of the testicles, or whose penis is cut off, shall not enter into the community of Yah. Wow. I really need to know more of what that means, because that seems very cruel. I mean, if he had an accident and this happened to him and that he's excluded now, a mamzer shall not enter. Okay, we need to know what a mamzer is. See, Explanatory knows mamzer, born from, oh, so a bastard, maybe, someone who's born from a prohibited union. Well, let's look up mamzer, because I'm sorry, I need to know. MAMZER real quick. Sorry. Mamzer, Yiddish meaning a bastard. Okay. So that's what that means. Okay. So a mamzer shall not enter the community of Yah. Even a 10th generation of his shall not enter the community of Yah. An Amorite or a Moabite shall not enter the assembly of Yah. Even a 10th generation of them shall not enter into the assembly. But remember, Ruth was a Moabite woman, and she's actually in the bloodline of Yeshua. So she was allowed into the assembly. So these are rules, but then there are exceptions, I guess. So because they did not meet you with bread and water on the way when you came out of Mitzrayim, and because, okay, so the Ammonites and the Moabites, when Israel came out of Egypt, they went to their kings and basically like, hey, can we pass through your area? We're not going to eat anything. We'll pay you for anything that we eat. We just want to pass through. We mean you no harm. Can you please just let us do this? And they were like, no, we're not going to let you do this. And so because they did not meet you with bread and water on the way when you came out of Mitzrayim, and because they hired against you Bilam, the son of Beor, from Pethor of Aram Naharim, to curse you. So that was one of the Torah portions of quite a while back. But Yah, your Elohim, refused to listen to Bilam, and Yah, your Elohim, turned the curse into a blessing for you, because Yah, your Elohim, loves you. Do not seek their peace nor their good all the days forever. Do not loathe an Edomite, for he is your brother. He's from Edom, from Esau. Do not loathe a Mitzrayim, because you are a stranger in his land. The children of the 3rd generation born to them do not enter the assembly of Yah. Okay. Uncleanness in the camp. When the camp goes out against your enemies, then you shall guard yourself from every evil matter. When there is a man among you who is not clean because of an emission in the night, then he shall go outside the camp. Let him not come into the midst of the camp. So this is something I need to really, because it's something I've recently just learned, and a misconception that we as Christians have is cleanness, uncleanness, and sin. Just because they're unclean does not mean they have sinned. They can become ritually unclean by having an emission in the night, having, when a man and a woman have intercourse, they are unclean. So they would have to time, it's like if they're going up to go to the temple, then they would not have intercourse before that because they would be unclean and not be able to enter. Things like that. So just because they're unclean does not mean they've sinned. It just means for a temporary period of time, usually till sundown, and then they have to go wash themselves. And a lot of this is just hygiene. And, they didn't have running water. They had rivers as running water. They did not have faucets. They did not have boiling, they'd have to boil water and things like that. So just because they're unclean doesn't mean they've sinned. It just means that they're not able to participate in certain things if they've become unclean for different reasons. That's so weird. My bun keeps showing up and then not showing up. Sorry, got distracted. When the camp goes out against your enemies, then you shall guard yourself from every evil matter. Because he's had admission in the night, then he shall go outside of the camp and let him not come in the midst of the camp. And usually he has to wash himself, wash his clothes, and wait till sundown, and then he can come back into the camp. And it shall be at the approach of evening that he bathes with water, and when the sun sets, let him come into the midst of the camp. And you shall have a place outside the camp where you shall go. And you shall have a sharp implement among your equipment. And when you sit down outside, that you shall dig with it and turn and cover your excrement. So, this is just hygiene once again. You got to go out and go number 2. You take a shovel with you, you dig a hole, you poop, you cover it up so nobody steps in it. And I love here, it says for Yah your Elohim walks in the midst of your camp to deliver you and give your enemies over to you. Therefore, your camp shall be set apart, so that he does not see unclean matter among you and shall turn away from you. So, we don't want it out there where Yah can step in it or see it. And so we take it outside the camp. You do not hand over his master, you do not hand over to his master the slave who has escaped. You do not hand over to his master the slave who has escaped from his master to you. Let him dwell with you in your midst, in the place which he chooses within one of your gates, where it is pleasing to him. Do not oppress him. None of your daughters of Israel is to be a cult prostitute. And I know this sounds so strange, but in those days, the pagan religions, that was part of their religious rituals, was to have sex in the temples and stuff, I guess. And they had, their women would actually go and they would get paid. They would be at the temple and they'd be paid to have sex, ritualistically have sex in the temples, I guess. And so it's like, we don't do that. We don't do those things. So none of your daughters of Israel are to be cult prostitute, nor any of the sons of Israel be a cult prostitute. And they had men and women, not just the women. That's true. They had men cult prostitutes as well. Do not bring the harlot fee of a whore or the pay of a dog to the house of Yah, your Elohim, for any vowed offering. For both of these are abominations to Yah, your Elohim. Okay. Do not lend at interest to your brother, interest of silver, interest of food, or interest of whatever is lent at interest. And that to this day, well, I don't know to this day, but I know that that's one of the things. I'm pretty sure still, like the Jews, they do not lend with interest to one another, but they do lend with interest to the Goyim, to the Gentiles. And to a foreigner you lend at interest, but to your brother you do not lend at interest, so that Yah your Elohim might bless you in all that you put your hand to in the land which you are entering to possess. So remember, they're getting ready now to enter into the promised land. And so this is Moses's last days here, and he's like going through everything, making sure that they've got it all down, because he originally taught this all to their parents and grandparents, but through the 40 years, that generation had to die before they could enter. So through the years, they've all died. And now it's the children that are entering, Joshua and Caleb and all that generation. And he's like, okay, I need to make sure you have all of these laws down before you go into the land so that the things run well for you there. So when you make a vow to Yah your Elohim, do not delay to pay it. For Yah your Elohim is certainly required of you, and it shall be a sin to you. But when you abstain from vowing, it is not a sin to you. So, it's good to not make vows. And it's interesting. One of the first things that really started to convict me in our old church before we left, and it's nothing, but he really showed me that it was something for me, was having to get up and say the Pledge of Allegiance and pledging our allegiance to a flag. And he's like, you're not supposed to pledge your allegiance to anything on this earth. And it was just like, oh. And so I would sit down during the Pledge of Allegiance, which really frustrated some people because, it seems dishonoring to the flag, but I'd rather honor my Elohim than a flag. But it's better not to make a vow than to make a vow and not keep it. So that which is gone from your lips, you shall guard and do. For you voluntarily vowed to Yah, your Elohim, what you have promised with your mouth. So if you do make a promise to him, gosh, I remember when I was a kid, and we're talking like 9, I used to sneak my mother's cigarettes and go smoke them out at the creek and under the bridge. And like it'd be great. She would go to work and it'd just be my brother and I getting ready to go to school. And I wouldn't be able to like find my shoes. And I would remember, oh God, if you help me find my shoes, I'll quit smoking. Well, I smoked into my 30s, so I never kept that vow. But it's just interesting how, our minds think. So that which is gone from your lips, you shall guard and do, for you voluntarily vowed to Yah, your Elohim, what you have promised with your mouth. When you come into your neighbor's vineyard, you shall eat to satisfy. When you come into your neighbor's vineyard, you shall eat to the satisfaction of your desire, but do not put any of it in a receptacle of yours. So like as you're walking through, go ahead and grab, some grapes here and grapes there, but you're not like to take a bucket home with you. When you come into your neighbor's standing grain, you shall pluck the heads with your hand, but do not use a sickle on your neighbor's standing grain. So just like when Yeshua and the disciples were walking through the field and they were grabbing it and they were eating it on the Sabbath, laws concerning divorce. When a man takes a wife and shall marry her, and if he finds no favor in his eyes because he has found a matter uncovered, the matter of uncoveredness in her, then he shall write her a certificate of divorce and put it in her hand and send her out of his house. Uncoveredness is proof that she's not a maiden, indicating she had previously had sex. See Matthew 5:32 and Matthew 19:9. And if she left his house and went and became another man's wife, and the latter husband shall hate her and write her a certificate of divorce and put it in her hand and send her out of his house. And when the latter husband dies, who took her as to be his wife, then the former husband who sent her away is not allowed to take her back to be his wife after she has been defiled, for that would be an abomination before Yah, and do not bring sin on the land which Yah your Elohim is giving to you as an inheritance. And here's more miscellaneous laws. When a man has taken a new wife, let him not go into the army, nor let the matter be imposed upon him. He shall be exempt for 1 year for the sake of his home, to rejoice with his wife whom he's taken. Do not take in a pledge the lower or upper millstone. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. No one takes in pledge the lower, the upper millstone, for he would be taking the life in the pledge. So, a millstone is how they mill their grain. That's something that you can't take from somebody as a pledge because they need it to survive. When a man is found kidnapping any of his brothers of the children, when a man is found kidnapping any of his brothers of the children of Israel and treats him harshly or sells him, then that kidnapper shall die. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. Take heed of an outbreak of leprosy to diligently guard and do according to all the priests and the Levites teach you, as I have commanded them to do, so you shall guard to do. And you know what? Leprosy comes about from evil speech. And I think you'd be able to see it if you start looking at it. This is when he really taught me about speaking negatively about anyone else or myself. In that when I speak negatively, which is called lashon hara in Hebrew, it's evil speech, and that's leprosy is the result of that. It's a spiritual and physical rotting, essentially rotting. And it's when we come into agreement with Hasatan, Satan, who, in the Bible, it says many times, like in Job, he goes before the Most High, before the throne, to give a report. And he's like, where have you been? I've been wandering around the earth, yada, yada. And he is the accuser of the brethren, right? So he is going before the throne every day. You figure there's a throne, and this is a court. And Satan comes and he's like, hey, did you see so-and-so's doing this? So if you start speaking evil about somebody, you're actually coming into agreement with Hasatan, with Satan, with the adversary, with the accuser. And instead, what does it say in the Bible? Love covers a multitude of sins. Love sees no wrong. Love is forgiving. So when we choose not to have an offense against a brother or another person, and then we are able to, by his grace, because it's hard to do on our own, but he can work it into us. Trust me, this is something he's worked greatly in me. I mean, I'm still working on it, but when we can come into agreement, because who's sitting at the right hand? But our advocate, he is advocating for us and he is interceding for us every day. And so we come into agreement with him instead. And we come into agreement with Yeshua, who's sitting at the right hand, who's interceding for us every day. And we're speaking life over ourselves and other people. And we're in agreement with him, because the Bible does say where there's two or more witnesses. So you can either be the second witness to the adversary, the accuser, or you can be the second witness to Yeshua, who is interceding for us and making atonement for us every day. So work on that with your speech. So take heed of an outbreak of leprosy to diligently guard and do according to all the priests. So if there's an outbreak of leprosy, that means basically people have been talking and there's a bunch of evil, gossip and stuff going around. And it spreads like wildfire. It truly does. And then there's an outbreak. So remember what Yah, your Elohim, did to Mitzrayim on the way when you came out of Mitzrayim. When you lend to a brother a loan, do not go into his house and get his pledge. Stand outside and let the man to whom you lent bring the pledge out to you. And if the man is poor, do not sleep with his pledge. By all means, return the pledge to him at sundown, and he shall sleep in his own garment and shall bless you, and it shall be righteousness to you before Yah your Elohim. Do not oppress a hired servant who is poor and needy, of your brothers or of your strangers who are in the land within your gates. Give him his wages on the same day, and do not let the sun go down on it, for he is poor and lifts up his being to it, so that he does not cry out against you to Yah, and it shall be sin to you. Fathers do not put to death. Fathers are not put to death for their children, and children are not put to death for their fathers. Each is to die for his own sins. So like you've got a son who's been, who needs to be put to death, like that wayward one and the parents. The father can't say, take me instead. Doesn't work that way. Do not twist the right ruling of a stranger or the fatherless, nor take the garment of a widow. But you shall remember that you were a slave in Mitzrayim in Egypt, and that Yah your Elohim ransomed you from there. Therefore, I am commanding you to do this word. When you reap your harvest in your field and have forgotten a sheaf in the field, do not go back and get it. Let it be for the strangers, for the fatherless, and for the widow, so that Yah your Elohim might bless you in all the workings of your hands. So leave stuff for those in need. When you beat your olive trees, do not examine the branch behind you. Let it be for the stranger, for the fatherless, for the widow. When you gather your grapes from your vineyards, do not glean behind you. Let it be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Mitzrayim. Therefore, I'm commanding you to do this word. And when there is a dispute between men, then they shall come into judgment, and they shall be judged, and the righteous declared righteous, and the wrongdoer declared wrong. And it shall be, if the wrongdoer is to be struck, that the judge shall cause him to lie down and be struck in his presence, with the number of blows according to his wrong. 40 strikes he gives him, but no more, lest he strike him with many more blows than these, and your brother be degraded before your eyes. Do not muzzle an ox while it is threshing, so let it eat as it's going. Laws concerning a Levirate marriage. When brothers dwell together and one of them has died and has no son, the widow of the dead man shall not become a stranger's outside. Her husband's brother does go into her and shall take her as his wife and perform the duty of the husband's brother to her. And it shall be the firstborn son which she bears does rise up for the name of her dead brother, so that the name is not blotted out of Israel. I mean, he thought of everything. It's so brilliant. But if a man does not desire to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate of the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to rise up a name to his brother in Israel. He does not agree to perform the duty of my husband's brother. And the elders of the city shall then call and speak to him, and shall stand and say, and he shall stand and say, I have no desire to take her. Then his brother's wife shall come to him, and in the presence of the elders remove his sandals from his foot, and shall spit in his face and answer and say, thus it is done to the man who does not build up his brother's house. And in Israel his name shall be called the house of him who has had his sandals removed. Ooh, I'm sorry. I just have always read that and gone, well, now that's interesting. He's shamed for not taking care of his brother's widow. When men fight with one another, and a man and his brother, and the wife of one shall draw near to rescue her husband from the hand of the one striking him, and shall be put out of her hand and take hold of him by the genitals, then you shall cut off her hand. Your eye does not pardon. I guess that might have been a practice. I don't know. You shall not have in your bag different weights, a heavy and a light. You shall not have in your house different measures, a large and a small. You shall have the perfect and right weight, a perfect and right measure, so that they prolong your days on the soil which Yah your Elohim is giving you. All of these things, there's these promises. If you do these things, your life will be blessed. For all who do these and all who do unrighteously are an abomination to Yah your Elohim. And remember what Amalek did to you on the way as you were coming out of Mitzrayim, and how he met you on the way and attacked your back, all the feeble ones in your rear, when you were tired and weary, and he did not fear Elohim. Therefore, it shall be when Yah your Elohim has given you rest from your enemies all around in the land, which Yah your Elohim is giving to you to possess as an inheritance, that you blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under the heavens. Do not forget. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that was part of the problem with Saul, is that the king that he did not kill when he was told to, when he went and took that city and took back the spoil and the different things, when he was told to not kill everybody, I'm pretty sure that was from Amalek. And that was part of the problem there. I think. Yep, that's it here. And then the next, sorry, that's a fire warning. Garnet fire. This is the fire that's by us. So we kind of check the warning, see if I have to evacuation or those kind of things. So, it's 12% contained, 24,000 acres. Okay. So no, it's just the fire has spotted a quarter of a mile near power lines per radio traffic. Strike teams. Okay, so we figured once it started getting towards power lines, they'd start hitting hard and heavy because they don't want people's power going out. So, okay. week in our Haftarah is Isaiah 54, 1 through 10. Isaiah 54, 1 through 10. Sing, O barren one, you who did not bear, break forth into singing and cry aloud, you who have not been in labor, for the children of the deserted one are more than the children of the married women, said Yah. So this is an eternal covenant of peace. Enlarge the places of your tent and let them stretch out the curtains of your dwellings. Spare not. Lengthen your cords and strengthen your stakes. For you shall break forth to the right and to the left, and your seed inherit the nations and make the deserted cities inhabited. Do not fear, for you shall not be put to shame, nor hurt. You shall not be humiliated. For the shame of your youth you shall forget and not remember the reproach of your widowhood and anymore. Plug in. There we go. For your maker is your husband, Yah of hosts, and his name, the set apart one of Israel, is your redeemer. He is called the Elohim of all the earth. For Yah has called you like a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, like a wife of youth when you were refused, declares your Elohim. For a little while I have forsaken you, but with great compassion I shall gather you. In an overflow of wrath, I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting loving commitment, I shall have compassion on you, says Yah, your Redeemer. For this is the waters of Noah. For this is the waters of Noah to me, and that I have sworn that the waters of Noah would never again cover the earth. So I have sworn not to be wroth with you, nor to rebuke you. For though the mountains be removed and the hills be shaken, my loving commitment is not removed from you, nor is my covenant of peace shaken. For Yah, says Yah, who has compassion on you. And then Matthew 24, 29 through 42. And immediately after the distress in those days, the sun shall be darkened and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from heavens. My girlfriend and I were just talking about this today. And the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. There's lots of footnotes in here. I mean, look, this is in Matthew, and look here, it's actually quoting, for the stars of the heavens and their constellations do not give off their light, and the sun shall be dark. So Isaiah 13:10, Isaiah 24:23, Ezekiel 32:7 and 8, Joel 2:10, Joel 2:31, Joel 3:15, and the powers of heaven shall not be shaken. Haggai 2:6, Haggai 2:21, and then there's footnotes. See also Amos 5:20, Amos 8:6, and Isaiah 34:4, which is really cool that I'm learning that so much of the New Testament is actually just repeating its quotes from the Old Testament. I mean, you can see all through here where it's bolded, and then it'll tell you where it came from. It's just bizarre. So there's nothing new. It's just repeating the covenants and the laws. And then the sign of the son of Adam shall appear in the heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the son of Adam coming in the clouds of the heavens, and with power and much esteem. And he shall send his messengers with great sounds of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his chosen ones from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. And learn this parable of the fig tree. When its branches has already become tender and puts forth leaf, you know that summer is near. So you also, when you see all of these things, you know he is at the doors. My girlfriend and I were just having this conversation. It's about, I think there's Hannah, and I forget what the man's name was, but they were in the temple when Mary, and Joseph brought Yeshua, Jesus, to the temple. They were there praying and waiting, and they knew the signs and the seasons. They knew that they were going to see Messiah. And so they recognized him because they were looking up and they were watching and they were paying attention. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So when we see these things happening, which we are seeing these things happening, we're supposed to pay attention, and we know. So when you see all these things, know that he is near at the doors. Truly, I say to you that this generation shall no means pass away until all of this has taken place. That I'm not even going to touch that. I mean, that does cause me to like not understand, because of course that generation was 2,000 years ago. It has not happened. I mean, it has, but some of it did, like the destruction of the temple happened during their generation. It was, 70 years after Yeshua died, when the temple was destroyed and things like that. So the heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall by no means pass away. No one knows the day and the hour, but we do know the signs and the seasons. But concerning that day and the hour, no one knows, not even the messengers of heaven, but my Father only. And as the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Son of Adam be. For as they were in the days before the flood, eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until that day Noah entered the ark, and they did not know until the flood came and took them all away, so also shall be the coming of the Son of Adam be. Then two shall be in the field, and one is taken and one is left. Footnote, a masculine plural can refer to either gender, feminine plural, refer to females only. Two women shall be grinding at the mill, and one is taken and one is left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your master is coming. Now, some people believe that means the rapture of the church, but let's look at the parable of the wheat and tares. Who is actually plucked up first? Not the wheat, the tares. The tares are pulled out. And from the studying I've been doing, we want to be left behind. We do not want to be taken out, because it's the tares that are going to be taken out and thrown into the fire. And that doesn't mean everybody that's not a believer. The tares are the ones that behave like believers, but aren't. So, those are the ones who act like they walk in his ways, but they truly don't. Those are the tares. They look just like the wheat, but they're not. So anyway, that's it for today. I didn't pray coming in, so I'm definitely praying going out. I'm all thrown off with this week with having yesterday off. But Father Yah, thank you so much. What a blessing it is to be able to read your word and to study your word and then to share your word. Father, thank you so much for giving me this job to do. And thank you for giving me, like I asked you, thank you for giving me a passion for your word and a hunger and a thirst, and continue to always make that my hunger and thirst deeper and my passion deeper and more. Father, I pray that this goes out to everyone that you have designed for it to go out to, and that you open their eyes and open their ears so that they can receive you and walk in covenant with you. Be blessed and glorified by us, Father. Thank you so much for all you do in providing for us. In Yeshua's name, amen. All right. Well, God willing, I'll see you next week. Be blessed. Have a great Torah. Have a great week of studying Torah. Excuse me, and have a beautiful Shabbat next Shabbat. Bye. Let me see how I get out of this. It'll take me a few minutes to wind my way out of this. There we go. All right, stop recording.